Ashish. Hello. Visible, na? Okay, fine. I'll stop sharing now, right? Okay, okay, okay. ठीक है, thank you. When I'm sharing screen, that time my camera is also ready, right?
ये वो उधर उधर किसका लगता है
Yes.
हाँ सर जैसे डोजिमेट्री ने वो इंटरैक्टिव वीडियो पर कनेक्ट करना है यार ये ना बाहर रखी है इधर ही रहेगी
Good morning, sir.
We don't have
Okay. Just like that, or maybe uh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. One important.
Sound bad.
Morning, Amit.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
Good morning, Ramurthy sir.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Good morning, Amit. Good morning, Raina sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? I am hearing you well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good.
Loud and clear.
Good morning, Anindya.
Hi, Anindya. Good morning, everyone.
सामने वाली से माइक उसका आवाज आ रहा है स्पीकर की मैडम का आवाज स्पीकर का आवाज इसके माइक में कैच किया मैडम की माइक में बात नहीं किया ना माइक कैच
थोड़ा सा उसका ये कम करके
बात क्या है आप यहाँ से बात कर रहे हैं उसके स्पीकर में आवाज आ रहा है तो आवाज उसका माइक कैच कर रहा है तो वो इसलिए वो इक्वल सेम थिंग उस
माइक के बिना
उसको विदाउट माइक करना पड़ेगा ताकि कैप्चर
वहीं से करके बजाए
क्या हटा कर दो
कर्नाटक
श्रेयस लाया है श्रेयस एक एक्सटेंशन बोर्ड लाया है
अरे मैंने कल को चेंज किया बट एनीवेज ये सब कर ले
इधर है अभी से टाइम कर हाँ लो दिस अभी जिस का टाइम है लो दिस अभी तुमको ये किया था तो मैं इसमें क्या ये है हमारा जो है अभी तुम यहाँ से बुला पहले जरा मूर्ति सर को वेलकम करोगे ये राजनाथ सर को वेलकम करोगे फिर हमको और ये ठीक है सर सर साइड
Good morning, everyone. We are going to start in a little time. Good morning, everyone.
गुड मॉर्निंग
No individual alone is responsible for a single stepping stone along the path of progress. And where the path is smooth, progress is most rapid. With these aptly quoted words by our renowned American nuclear scientist.
Good morning, one and all. With these excellent words, we begin our day together as nuclear medicine professionals to celebrate and learn about the history, advancements, and achievements in the field of nuclear medicine. And my dear colleagues, I, Kinnari,
And I, Grace,
feel delighted to welcome you all here in Navi Mumbai for the most awaited NMPAI Call 2022.
NMPI is committed towards the nuclear medicine, constructive development of all nuclear medicine professionals working throughout India. NMPI propagates education and training throughout the year across various platforms, and NMPI Conference is one such platform. I welcome you all to this conference. Now, I would take this opportunity to invite our guest of honor, Sri Pradeep Mukherjee. Let's have a round of applause for him. Sir, please come and sit. I would also invite Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha and Sneha ma'am to come and sit. I also invite Mr. Rajnath Jaiswal for the welcome address. Good morning, sir. I would request you to welcome our chief guest, Dr. N. Ramamurthy, for the inauguration ceremony and the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Very much audible. You are not audible, sir.
I request Mr. Rajnath Jaiswal, sir, to please come forward for the welcome address.
Thank you. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, all of you. Respected chief guest, member of organizing committee, and the distinguished senior faculty members of the fraternity, my teachers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a great privilege for me to welcome you all for 6th annual conference of NMPI having theme nuclear medicine and exploring physiology and predicting outcome. It is a proud moment for NMP organization. We have come along since our inception in 2007. It just started with 30 members. Now we stand strong as professional body with more than 400 professionals. I take honor to introduce our chief guest, Dr. N. Namurthy, a great teacher and a mentor. He served as a scientist for BRC for more than 37 years. He also served as a director of physical and chemical science, IAEA. He was chairman of chief executive of BRIT during 2000 to 2003. He has also headed the radiopharmaceutical program of BRIT. He headed radiopharmaceutical division of BRC during 1999-2003. He was chairman of PA Radiopharmaceutical Committee during 2002 to 2003 and also again the same position in 2011-2016. He has been faculty for RMC postgraduate DRM and DMRT for more than 15 years. He also served as the president of Society of Nuclear Medicine India during year 2000-2001. Dear friends, we all know that Dr. Jagir Baba had a vision to promote the use of energy for peaceful use, and in order to promote its use in medical field, Department of Atomic Energy also conducted courses in various fields of medical and industrial applications of radiation. DMRIT course was first started by Radiation Medicine Center (RC), and later over the period, many government institutions like All India Institute of Medical Science, Delhi, Chandigarh PGI, SGPGI Lucknow, RMN Lucknow, Manipal University, Tata Memorial Hospital Mumbai have started. There are more than 20 institutes in India who have started the nuclear program. We are working in a critical environment where we have to provide a constant technical support during the operation of state of art imaging instruments, radionuclide therapy, quality control, radiopharmaceuticals with complex chemistry, and safe enough to be injected to the patient, operation and maintenance of medical cyclotron with an additional responsibility for ensuring radiation safety to the patient, staff, and the public. To execute this responsibility, we need highly qualified and trained full-time staff professional qualification of master degree like MSc Nuclear Medicine or MSc with DMRT. We all are aware AARB and our clinical colleagues recognize our importance. NMPI along with many other nuclear medicine professional bodies like Society of Nuclear Medicine India, Association of Nuclear Medicine Physician of India has approached AARB several times in last 7 years and suggested about the modification in currently enforced safety guide and code. That is to change nuclear medicine technologist radiation professional code to nuclear medicine physicist, so that evolving technology in nuclear medicine departments are better managed with qualified and skilled professional, along with the nuclear career progression based on the academic and professional qualification. Moreover, nuclear medicine physicist is the cost-effective professional who looks after not only clinical workflow, but also the radiation safety, while medical physicists from radiotherapy, good enough for radiation safety purpose, but nuclear medicine department needs a qualified nuclear medicine physicist for radiation safety purpose and post-graduation qualification to carry out the patient work also. We submitted and presented many documents in AARB in support of our demand, but still not taking a shape, because it is known to all of us that since last more than 2 years or so, sections of the medical physicists community undermines our significant contribution in the field of nuclear medicine, maybe due to their insecurity and conflict of interest. However, if you analyze their syllabus and training module, you will surprise that they have not received adequate training in handling of unsealed radiation sources and its safety issues, and does not have knowledge in spectrum of clinical imaging protocol, radiopharmaceutical preparation, and cyclotron operation. But the scientists working in regulatory authorities have always shown soft corners for them. In our country, in practice of radiation therapy, a MSc in medical physics or MSc with 1 year DRP is regarded as medical physicist, whereas a nuclear medicine practice, a person with similar and equivalent qualification, that is nuclear medicine MSc or MSc with DMRT, are called technologists, but they are treated as technician. This is an absolute injustice with non-medical nuclear medicine facilities, and which should be changed to nuclear medicine physicist. The ARB safety code have not supported development of this fraternity of nuclear medicine physicists. Lowering qualification or education standards will not only lead to the deterioration of quality services, but also lead to the migration of better qualified personnel over a period of time. In the recent communication regarding our plea to AERB, they have quoted that their role is limited to the radiation safety, and for any changes related to qualification, designation, role and responsibility in safety code, we should approach to Health Council. From this platform of an MPI, we look forward for the guidance and support from the chief guest to get our demands perceived, and MPI should get justice. Finally, I would like to thank all mentors, my teachers, senior colleagues, and friends who have been a source of inspiration and support to this conference. With due regard, I request our chief guest to address the inaugural function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that beautiful message. Now I request our chief guest. I request our guest of honor, Shri Pradeep Mukherjee, for the welcome address.
Good morning to all the stalwarts in nuclear medicines and the students here, and some of the ex-people from the Department of Atomic Energy, Dr. Ramurthy, Chief Executive Breed Former. At the outset, I would like to convey my gratitude to this organization for inviting me in the 6th annual conference of NMPAI ICON 2022. And I understand this conference will provide a platform for participants to interact and understand the subjects also, and deliver it on various topics, as those stalwarts are also there in the nuclear medicine. So basically, I'm Pradeep Mukherjee. I'm right now looking after the Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology, which are in the area of radiation technology for the last 3 decades. As we know, the frontier areas of medicine today synergizes with the development of other disciplines, and nuclear medicine is no exception. With the rapid advancement of technology, quality assurance program, artificial intelligence, advanced algorithms, and a lot of advancement in hybrid techniques like PET-CT, MRI-CT, emerging new molecules for molecular and functional imaging has taken place for the production of new radiopharmaceuticals for diagnosis and therapy. And due to the availability of isotopes like actinium-225, yttrium-90, radium-223, lutetium-177, copper-64, ruthenium-106, etc., has opened up really a horizon for the application of nuclear medicine in accordance with the cancer care. Today, with the availability of wide range of radiopharmaceuticals, it has led to the diagnosis and the best therapy possible, resulting better management of the patient by the nuclear medicine team. And now I would like to inform and what actually presently the BREET is doing for the development of this, or rather, okay, we'll say the development of this radiation isotope-based technology for the nation. As you know, for the last 3 decades, we are part of Department of Atomic Energy, and the last 3 decades, we are working as a commercial arm of the Department of Atomic Energy for propagating the radiation-based technology for the societal benefits. In fact, BREET was, one of the pioneers in introducing nuclear medicine in the healthcare system. It has also ensured making quality-assured radiopharmaceuticals available to the various nuclear medicine centers at a very affordable price. Basically, this has created the foundation for popularizing the nuclear medicine in the country. As you know, BREET provides a broad range of products, starting from the radiopharmaceuticals and other radioisotope-based technology-based products. And its focus is on harnessing the benefits of radioisotope technology across the country to benefit basically the all spectrum of the society. As a government organization, to sustain this business environment for making it commercially viable with ever-increasing market demand of radiopharmaceuticals in India, we are in the process of developing new radiopharmaceuticals. The steps have been taken. A lot of steps have been taken. The new pharmaceuticals, we have already introduced lutetium-177 based peptide-based hydroxyapatite, and yttrium-90 labeled hydroxyapatite, iodine-131 lipiodol, ruthenium-106 plaque for eye cancer, then TC-99, technetium-99 based cold kits like Hynec-Tech, Hynec RGD, then gallium-68 PSMA injections. So these are the isotopes we have already introduced, and the pipelines we are having this yttrium-90 glass sphere. You may be knowing about it, the liver cancer that is effectively utilized. And we are also eyeing to actinium-225. And we have already established 30 MeV cyclotron at Kolkata in the campus of VECC. So definitely we should be able to make it in a span of, say, in another 2-3 years time to produce actinium-225, because it's alpha therapy, and naturally it gives more effective treatment, or a more localized treatment for the cancer. And now another things I want to inform to the members who are here. We are almost in the last lap of producing the fission moly plant. As you know, moly can be produced, moly 99 can be produced in 2 routes. One is the N-gamma route, which is possible from the research reactor, and another is the fission route. So it's in the fission route, you will get a high specific activity moly. And that high specific activity moly plant is almost in the last stage of commissioning. And in all probability, we should be able to make the hot commissioning ready over by in another couple of months. And maybe in another 6 months' time, we should be able to introduce this indigenous moly in the market. So that will eliminate that dependency on the foreign, from the imported moly, and we should be able to streamline the supply, and nobody will feel a dearth of the generators, which is one of the foundation, which is basically the workhorse for the nuclear medicine. And as I told, in the Cyclo 30 in the VECC, we have already started. Fluorine 18 we have already introduced, and recently we have also done the gallium-68 based PSMA and DOTA that we have already introduced. And also we have done thallium-201, although the demand is not that much, but thallium-201 is right now available. So if anybody is there in the cardiologist, so they can definitely give us the demand for it, and we should be definitely able to cater it. For streamlining the supply logistics, we have taken a lot of measures so that the nuclear medicine centers should get the medicine the way they want, right on their desk. We have a very sound e-portal system where the hospitals can order the medicine, and we have a cloud-based logistics system. And in that logistics system, you can basically see the dynamic position of your order and where the supply is, the location of the material, and when you are going to get it. So all these things, like you get it when you order from an Amazon app, you get the notice that it has reached this point. Like that, actually, you can also get it for the Brit products in your pump top. We have a Brit Bandhu app, so there actually it can be seen. So that delivering at the doorsteps really has increased the demand for the Brit isotopes, radioisotopes. So that's really a very welcome situation for us. And this particular logistics system, so we have this maintaining this AERB guidelines. Even we are picking up the spent generators from the consignee, that also giving the customer satisfaction. And in the radiation engineering and other sectors, BRIT is providing an exemplary service for the nation. As you know, we have already a lot of radiation processing plants. More than 23 plants are there all over the country, which is right now operating. They have a MOU with us, and we are supplying the over 60 source to them. The demand is increasing, and this is one of the message I want to give. It's also our endeavor to bring the indigenous brachytherapy machine, and the physics people will be required there. Indigenous brachytherapy machine called Tark Nidhan, that is going to be introduced in the domestic market soon. My target is to finish it by August. Let me see if it can be done. And if we can introduce it, and if it gets popularized in Indian market, so the dependency on the foreign machine and the foreign source, that will be reduced drastically, and we'll encourage to use our indigenous machine to all those nuclear medicine centers. I mean, they can. I mean, those doctors can use our machines, those brachytherapy specialists, and definitely it will reduce the burden on foreign exchange for the country. So with this all, I once again congratulate this NMPAI team for organizing this hybrid conference and selecting the apt theme for the conference, a need for today's scenario, nuclear medicine, exploring physiology and predicting outcome. I extend my warm greetings and success to the organizers for conducting scientific programs along with fruitful interaction with the participants. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for that noteworthy address. Now I would like to invite our chief guest, Dr. N. Ramamurthy, for inaugurating the ceremony.
A very good morning to all of you. I hope I am audible enough. Okay, yeah, thank you. President NMPAI, Dr. JhaSchools, the organizing committee chairman, organizing secretary, and the team members of NMPAI Con, the delegates, faculty, and the guest of honor, Dr. Pradeep Mukherjee, and dear friends and students. I am sure plenty of students are participating. A very good morning to all of you. It's indeed a great honor to be asked by NMPAI to be the chief guest to do the inauguration of this conference. I'm very happy to know, at least this year, it has become a hybrid one, and taking place very close to my house, and the Brit also there in Washi itself lately. I wish I could have been there in person, but it could not be possible. But I happen to have attended already, I think, 3 or 4 of these 6 conferences. 2 in Calcutta and Delhi, I remember I attended in person, and then probably something on the web also. So it's been growing, the NMPAI conference. You know, we have many professional bodies dealing with nuclear medicine. So the NMPA, when it started one more annual conference, the usual fear of, what it would be like, the overlap and all. So that's why when I got an opportunity to send a kind of a message, I just felt that from the way in the last few years we have been evolving and conducting this NMPAI, we will certainly be able to come around with a kind of a branded structure. This structured conference means this will be NMPAI, so that the emphasis on the very particular professional role which the nuclear medicine physics people are bringing into the field, while at the same time touching upon all the overall growth of the field. Because after all, the overall growth of the field is what sustains us towards moving. And there we are really doing well. Very nicely brought out by the title this time, that exploring physiology and predicting outcome. That's really the versatility I call of the nuclear medicine, because we could have been doing certain targeting and certain imaging. Suppose there we have lost out, there are other scope for us which we will be able to do more easily from the nuclear medicine using the multidisciplinary skills compared to many other fields. That's what makes our nuclear medicine extremely unique. The ability to be able to look for certain kind of a target vectors and then be able to bring around with the suitable radioisotope, be it for imaging and then eventually for even the therapy, or now what we call the theranostic approach. This is a great versatility. But unlike the other medical disciplines, here we have the radioisotope and the off-life, which we cannot wish it away. And therefore, a person like Pradeep Mukherjee and their institute becomes important, because just hypothetically imagine, even through a pandemic part, your CT could have been functioning, MRI could have been functioning. Whereas your nuclear medicine, unless the isotope iodine or the molybdenum technetium or fluorine came, you have a problem. So therefore, there is a very subtle and an important difference. And that's what brings this multidisciplinary part. Particularly, whether we call it physics or I take the P for synonymously professional, nuclear medicine professionals are extremely important, because it's beyond the clinician physician. There are so many things involved in the day-to-day activity of the nuclear medicine department program. And there the role of, to the total extent of the versatility of the field, the versatility of the nuclear medicine physics person, the physics professional, becomes important in the sustainability of the nuclear medicine program services and its delivery. And therefore, it's a great thing. And it's nice that a proper professional body is organized and that's taking care of the whole thing. The importance of a professional body is, when you speak individually as a scientist or a professional, either maybe people can attribute, oh, you come from that institute, so you are more academic. Oh, you are coming from a corporate, you are just looking at earning money, or you are representing an industry, so there is a commercial vested interest. Whereas when it comes to a professional body, all of them get submerged, and you have a high level of a voice, as long as you will remain extremely objective, internally be very, very critical and argue and find, but what you would like to eventually advocate and bring it, if it really stands to the objective scrutiny. That's what gives the great strength to professional bodies, including to NMPAI, be it for engaging with the AERB on certain things like what JhaSchools said, or with the health ministry, because the health ministry has a great role and already they have been doing things and they are improving. We cannot challenge them, because in a Western industrialized country, already many things could be under the health ministry, which will not be here in India. There the professional body's role becomes very crucial to be the interface, liaise with the government, and there your part of it is extremely important. As we know, it's not only just in the nuclear medicine area, there are many other sophisticated medical disciplines where extremely qualified professionals are needed. It's no more like a very normally trained person, a technician, or just learned something on the job. They have to have formal professional qualification, certification, probably renewal, something equivalent of the CME, credits, etc. will be certainly be needed. I'm extremely happy that 20 years back to whomever I would have taught, those people are all today, totally the field has changed, but they have completely kept pace with the fundament. The foundation laid there had been strong enough for them to be able to absorb and then grasp and continue to be relevant. And that's very important. We have it in nuclear medicine, but every one of the other medical specialty has it or not, that's something open to debate. And therefore, the health ministry is extremely strongly involved. So I would very strongly, and it so happens I put that word one small paragraph in my message already also, to remain actively engaged with the thing, like as a professional body, when you go, you're not going as a Tata Memorial Center representative, or I'm representing IBA or any other, commercial entity. Like I am as such a professional body representative, like that gives a great voice. Having said that, I would also like to turn to our own field, like what's been there. One of the important and happy news for me was that lutetium PSMA 617 be receiving the US FDA approval. As we know, your gallium PSMA for the scanning part of it, like was already into the standard of care, like for the prostate cancer people, whereas a therapy procedure like that, again getting a US FDA approval, even though we have probably done plenty of cases in India compared to some of the Western countries where they are constrained by certain other type of regulations, they could not do. But now that it has got opened up, it will also improve the referrals. Otherwise, earlier, almost like probably people have given up, not many others approaches, and then they come to us. Like instead, now it gets the stamp, a standard of care procedure. It could become like that, gives a important hope. It's not just the one, like there could be many. That's why when probably in one of the future themes, like instead of only the exploring the physiology, predicting outcome, we will also be having the word delivering personalized treatment. Like our good old iodine that's been raining forever, and I'm pretty sure it will continue to rain. Because we have the presence of Dr. Pradeep Mukherjee here from the Atomic Energy, and I mentioned the importance with reference to the isotope half-life issue. We have to say, like in all our enthusiasm to do something with fluorine or the technetium, we shouldn't forget, because iodine availability week on week like is extremely important. Recently, there was an event organized by the BRC where all the medical people were engaged by the radiopharmacy team there, and it was very happy. I was very happy to have chaired a plenary discussion there, like where plenty of these points were put, how critical it is, the right quantity and the right amount of iodine is available every week. Like so, iodine rains forever, so it is needed. Moly technetium, we have been heavily dependent on the imports. And now with fission moly coming up, and as Pradeep Mukherjee mentioned, if it would come, that should increase the indigenous quota. Medical cyclotron PET part, we have been doing extremely well, including from the private, and that's the very great strength of it. Like it's not that complete dependence on only one source or so. Plenty of people all around the country, and its growth beyond 300 PET CT units today. And there you are particularly your title, the exploring the physiology, predicting the outcome. That predicting the outcome and the staging of the disease and monitoring the treatment part of it, like what's being provided by the PET CT, remains the core big importance to. When we mention that, I'm tempted to bring up that word diagnostic reference level. In the case of the optimization of the radiation dose, absorbed doses, like this principle has been there, and it's not, it's known well, everybody practices, but probably not very that strongly. Maybe in India, we can now take a lead, and the physics association like your NMPA can be the one. It's not like fixing one individual small number. It's always a range. And fortunately for us at least in the nuclear medicine part, it's only the administered dose in so many megabecquerels or millicuries, not really in terms of the absorbed radiation dose. Unlike that's what is done in many of the other field like. So the DRL concept, adapting fostering, can probably be one which could be like really pioneered by the NMPA, and it will have a stronger strength when it comes from such a kind of a group of the people like. And this is something again, like it's not a domain of, the kind of a radiation safety alone. Like this involves the quality of the image and the medical judgment, whether it's adequacy like. So it involves the health ministry type of people, and again the NMPA type, like for the DRL concept and its fostering for the adoption in nuclear medicine, because you are having continuously improvements in the equipment. So depending on the range of the equipment, what could be the type of the things. We just mentioned about that therapy, iodine, and also with the lutetium improving, like, but we have one, if I can use the word, like, a gap, like in our nuclear medicine. If anybody says, oh yeah, we gave 200 millicurie 4 cycles, and then the patient is fine. But in terms of if you would like to have a kind of the absorbed dose, dosimetry values, like we do have a certain deficiency. This is also to do with the pharmacokinetics could vary between people to people. The intratumoral variability, the tumor itself, can be, differently behaving in different individuals. But there is scope, and once again, it's the nuclear medicine physics person like who would really be able to sort of, put some kind of a number. It's not like a rigid, extremely accurate number, like, but a very good estimate, assessed estimated value of the absorbed radiation dose to the different people, because this would probably help in terms of the long-term, kind of the progression of the entire field. So I was tempted to make that as another of the point, like to be kept in mind. Once again, keep NMPA kind of the focal point. What's been the overall importance? The nuclear medicine, if you take in the 1980s to 2000 to 2020, like we are definitely much more in the mainstream. Many conferences, other places, the nuclear medicine people are represented. Many of you, I know you cross-represent in other specialty events and then make the presentations, which is very important because the more number of items come in the standard of care from the nuclear medicine side, it makes it much simpler rather than only our own, sort of, providing for it. And then the ability to be able to deliver. Yeah, oh yes, it can be there, but then you have to come to Bombay or Delhi. That will not do. As you know, we are a very vast country, and the second layer, third tier cities are important. We do have a very good growth, but how much of it has penetrated into the beyond the upper metro or the next second level metro cities, like, could still be a question mark. Like. So that's something which in the kind of, it's beyond the NMPA role alone, like, but for the overall growth, like, it makes it important that the spread of it, the accessibility. But again, thanks to the cyclotron type, which has come out in many different places, like, and with the PET-CT centers around, I would say already the reachability, accessibility has increased. Perhaps there is still scope. There could be packets of zones where we may not be there. That's something to be overall addressed. I would like to come back to Dr. JhaSchools because I know that he has keenly made that point. He would be looking for some response from me. Like, you would have ample opportunity to remain engaged with AERB, and AERB, what they said legally is valid. I don't want to be a spokesperson for the AERB, but since I'm one of their advisory committee chairperson, which you all know, and perhaps one of the reasons for inviting me here, I would like to only make it clear that they will have to remain within their legal restrictions, and that would only apply to the radiation safety. But as you know, you play a far professional beyond role, beyond the safety, in actually practicing delivering the nuclear medicine services, the nuclear medicine imaging people or the therapy people, dosimetry people. That's what comes under the, beyond the purview type. But I'm pretty sure there will be other forum, and also the procedure of evolving every one of the code or the guide, which currently is in fact on a evolution process, will be available for ample opportunity for all of you to, give your inputs, interact, and be able to engage with them, and it could positively be taken. And I'm aware that in your souvenir book, you already have a message from the current chairman of the AERB. So I would very much urge a professional bodies. One of the thing is to remain objectively professionally engaged. I know everything cannot be achieved overnight, but you must be persevering and patient, and then professionally, objective in taking up the matter, be it with the AERB or be it with the health ministry. I'm pretty sure the spread of the talks, including the foreign faculty, one good thing about that our virtual mode conference is there is relative ease of engaging the faculty, except probably for the odd timing, like for some of them. So I'm pretty sure there is a feast of good talks and scientific material available to the people, and to project the progress of the field, as well as focus on where the nuclear medicine physics related aspects, be it in safety, regulation, imaging, the artificial intelligence, which was mentioned, all of them to be covered. So I wish all the participants an extremely productive time, and I'm very happy I have been given this opportunity to say a few words and share some thoughts, and then inaugurate this conference. I wish you all, I look forward to be joining as many of the lectures as possible. Once again, I thank the organizers for this honor of inviting me for this. And I would urge that a small message which I have put in the souvenir, which probably sums up what I had said here, like to be once again read by all the people. Thank you all. I wish you all a very, very fruitful conference. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for that enlightening message. It provided us with a deeper insight into the main essence of this workshop.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Amit Nautiyal to share the souvenir for the conference. And Sir Ramamusi, sir, I would request you to please stay. Sir, please share the souvenir.
Thank you, Chris. Now it's over to you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Kinry and Grace, for inviting me here to speak few words in front of these luminaries. Thank you, our chief guest, Dr. Ramamurthy, to be here and inaugurating this conference and MPICon 2022. Thank you, Sri Pradeep Mukherjee, sir, for being here as guest of honor. Thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Babu, sir. He is also here. I would like to thank Mr. Amit, Mrs. Sneha Mithun, and our entire student who worked tirelessly for many months to make this event successful, and still they are working very hard. And we have organized this conference, and we have 5 thematic sessions and oral presentation. And we had started this 6 year back, rather 7 year back, when we had one national meet. And now this is 6th annual conference. First conference was held by Amit as organizing secretary in Calcutta. Now he is in London, and he was with us, and still he is organizing secretary of this conference along with Sneha Mithun. So it's a long journey, and we have improved a lot. And this year, as I told, that we have 5 thematic sessions, from legislation to radio pharmacy, medical physics instrumentation, and artificial intelligence. And we have around 25 to 30 abstract, which is really good in number for such a small gathering. And if we see that growth of nuclear medicine in India, it is really having in the same pace as Westerners. We are having around 300 PET CT scanners and cyclotron, and that we are able to produce many isotope which is not available in many developed country. We are able to do many scans, many therapies which is not available in many developed country, and we are able to treat the patient. Yes, we have some sorts of leverage because legislation is not as tough as in the Western country, and so we are able to do so many things here, but it's difficult to do in Western country. So I have seen that our next speaker is in the line, and we have to start the session. To see that paucity of time, I would like to rest my talk here only by thanking all of the chairpersons and
all the delegates. And now I would like to call Sneha Mithun to have a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. I would keep my words very brief. Welcome everyone, including the participants, chief guests, guest of honor, chairpersons and speakers. And I would request everyone to just provide respect to our nation by standing up for the national anthem now. We'll just begin the national anthem. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Banga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uchchal Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे Jaya 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 He. Jai. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramurthy. Thank you, Dr. Pradeep Mukherjee. We'll move on now to the next session. Over to Grace and Kiran.
We would now please leave the aisle empty. Frequently, an emergency occurs. This might cause disturbance to the speaker during his or her talk.
Questions will be taken at the speaker for all of the timings for the upcoming session. It is a kind request not to disrupt the talk in between unless the speaker allows it.
We are now ready to begin with the first session of the day. This session is going to focus on the areas of radiation protection and dosimetry. Our chairpersons for this session are Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha, Dr. Yojana Singh, and Mrs. Bhakti Shetty. All of them are very well-known personalities in the field of nuclear medicine. Dr. Yojana Singh is a scientific officer at BRIT. She is also a senior manager and in charge of customer relations and publicity. She has a tremendous contribution in the field of radiopharmacy and drug development. We welcome you, ma'am.
Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha is a senior scientific officer at TMH, Mumbai. His main interests lie in radiomics, machine learning, and AI. We welcome you, sir. Please come and have a seat. Mrs. Bhakti Shetty is a senior scientific officer at Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. She has an extensive experience of several years in the field of radiopharmacy and radiation protection. We welcome you, ma'am. Please come forward and take your seats.
We welcome you all to NMPA ICON 2022. We hope that you will all have a thoughtful and interesting interaction with the speakers and your fellow delegates during the workshop. We wish you a productive and enjoyable experience.
We kindly urge you to maintain proper decorum during the lecture sessions. We now welcome our very first speaker for the day, Dr. S. Chinu Kapadat. He will be delivering a talk on planning of dosimetry for Y90 radioembolization. We kindly request our honorable chairpersons to introduce our speaker for the session. Over to you, sir.
Should I get started? Should I get started with my lecture?
Just a minute, sir. Ma'am, you are not audible. Please unmute yourself.
Should I start speaking? Should I give him my lecture here?
Yes, yes, you are on right platform. Yes, just
Okay, go ahead. All right,
Yeah.
I'll start. Okay, that's fine. Great. Everybody seeing my screen? Are you able to see my screen and listen to me talk? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so I want to first.
Yeah, we can see your screen, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen, sir. Yeah.
Very good. So I want to firstly thank the organizing committee and Dr. Zah for inviting me to present to your group today. And I appreciate going first because I am in the States and it's pretty late here for me. So I appreciate the flexibility for me. So I have been asked to present on the planning dosimetry for yttrium-90 radialization. And I want to start by here's my disclosures here. I do have research grants and I would do support consultantship. And I wanted to share my colleague here. His name is Dr. Armin Mavash, who is my interventional radiologist, who does a lot of the radialization work with me at my center. Okay. So I want to give credit for that. And maybe I should have introduced myself. My name is Chidu Kaparat. I work at the MD Anderson Cancer Center. I'm a nuclear medicine physicist. Okay. And I have training both in radiology and nuclear medicine. And I have been spending time in nuclear medicine for, well over 15 years. So, that's kind of was my background. Yeah. Is my audio coming in fine? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so let's start with a brief review. What is radialization? Okay. So we call the treatment radialization, or it's even known as selective internal radiation therapy. What we are doing here is we're doing a transarterial delivery of the epithelial.
We can't see your screen, sir.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to.
Kindly share your screen.
Yeah, sorry. Let me try that again. 1 second.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So we're right here, right? So
that's right.
Perfect. Okay. So these microspheres that are basically delivered transarterially using the femoral artery access and delivered very proximal to the tumors. The size of these particles is about 20 to 30 microns. So given their size, they're embolic and they get trapped in the vasculature. And these particles are loaded with yttrium-90 with them in a beta particle with no associated photon emission. So we get very close to the decay particle, high radiation dose deposition, while distance particles are being spared. So why do we apply this to liver-directed therapy? So liver is an organ of high disease burden in oncology. Physical candidates, there has been indication of ablative treatments. They have shown randomization to be suitable for bridge to transplant. It can also be used in the palliative setting. And you're looking to see basically that disease is dominant liver and that they're primarily fed by the hepatic supply. Once that patient is selected, they come for what we call the mapping procedure where, the hepatic supply, the normal hepatic supply is evaluated under fluoroscopic imaging, and maybe using 2D like here shown in DSL or even 3D imaging. And once the sort of the location of the treatment has been identified, once the treatment is identified, then MAA is delivered that location. And from MAA, you can kind of see where did it go, because this is used as a surrogate for actually the radioactive particles itself. Okay. So this has really expanded the scope of randomization treatment options. And what has been driving this has been dosimetry, okay? It is improved dosimetry, the improved models that we have, and kind of us realizing the clinical benefits of rate embolization in our routine clinical practice. So when we look at dosimetry as part of the device and as what we call the instructions for use or the package insert, they're very rudimentary and are really meant to be safety focused. So the lung doses are designed to prevent radiation pneumonitis, and they have a very conservative dose limit of, let's say, 30 gray per treatment here. And for liver doses, they use very simplistic dosimetry model, which I'm going to describe it shortly. And what they really assume is uniform uptake. So they really don't separate between tumor compartment and normal liver compartment, and it's not very sophisticated. But this is changing, okay? So all of the real practitioners of rate embolization in the academic centers are shifting this paradigm, and they're really looking now towards patient-specific dosimetry. And I will end by the lecture, and I'll present with you some trials that are going on right now that are really focused on patient-specific dosimetry, that are using advanced dosimetry and not some of the more rudimentary dosimetry out there. So that's kind of, just kind of start from the physics of this, So what is happening to yttrium-90? Yttrium-90 is basically decaying down to zirconium, right? And it emits basically an energetic beta with a 64-hour half-life. And we are exploiting this 2.23 MeV Emax beta to kind of, for the deposition of dose. We also got to remember that there is a 32 parts per million emission of a positron, and this positron is used to actually do post-therapy imaging of yttrium-90 as well. Okay, so if you do treatments with Y90, you can actually image them both with single photon SPECT using the Bremsstrahlung lung and the PET imaging. Most of the energy of the Y90 is deposited really within the 5 millimeters. Okay, in reality, in the first 1 millimeter is where most of the dose gets deposited. It's a really steep exponential function. And that all of the radiation primarily gets deposited within 10 days to a couple of weeks. So if you treat somebody in a couple of weeks, all of a sudden the radiation has already been delivered. Although the therapeutic effect of the radiation takes several months to realize. It's not an immediate thing, but you give Y90 and suddenly, like in 4 weeks, the tumor is treated. These things take several months for the efficacy to be realized clinically. So how do we do the basic dose calculations? If you look at sort of the simplest MERD paradigm, what we're looking at is I've shown you a kernel here of the dose profile when you have a voxel of Y90 sitting in the origin. And what you see here is that in blue is the beta, and orange here is the photon, which is the Bremsstrahlung component, okay? What you notice is beyond about 10 or 11 is where they cross over, but the photon component is almost 6 orders of magnitude lower than the beta component. So in reality, we just ignore the photon component for Y90 because the photon is so low compared to the beta. So if it is beta, we will have talking about self-dose because these betas don't travel very well. And we know in nuclear medicine, our voxels are pretty big, 5 millimeters or so, right? So all of the doses basically just local deposition. So the doses, the activity times the S factor, which is the self-dose factor, which tends to be 50 for Y90, divided by the mass. So the mathematics of those calculations tends to be very easy. Although when you're treating this, you got to be careful because the range in air can be 1 to 10 meters, okay? So when you're in the IR suite and you're delivering this, when the spheres come out in the tubing, you really need to use some good radiation safety practice. Otherwise, those betas do travel large distances in air. So once, this LS is the lung shunt fraction. Remember I told you, some fraction goes to the lung. I'm not going to describe it right now. I'm sure everybody knows how to calculate lung shunt fraction, but this is the fraction that goes to the lung. You multiply that by the activity. That is activity in the lung. And then you take that, multiply that by 50, divide that by the mass of the lung. That's how you get the dose to the lung. You want to get dose to the liver, you subtract the fraction that goes to the lung, multiply by 50, divide by the mass of the liver. So the equation is very simplistic here. What we have to note is that errors in mass translate to errors in dose. So if your masses are off by 20%, your dose is going to be off by 20%, right? Because errors are proportional here. Furthermore, in this case, you can see that the distribution of spheres within the tumor and the normal liver is heterogeneity in the dose distribution here, because these are all dealing with averages. So averages means very uniform values. But that's not the reality. However, that's how the planning is done. So when we talk of TerraSphere, the way the TerraSphere is planned is you basically determine what is the target mass that you want to treat. And then you figure out for this target mass dose, and they give you a range of RNA play. You can use the equation, here's the desired treatment dose, here's the mass that you want to treat, you divide by the dose constant here, and you'll get. So for example, if you're treating 1 kilogram of tissue and you want to deliver, let's say 100 gray, you would deliver 2 GBQs, right? So 2 GBQs uniformly perfused within a 1 kilogram volume will give you 100 gray dose. Okay, so that's how it's done. But the mass can be a segment, a lobe, it could be the whole liver itself. Okay, so they don't specify that. And you also have to pay attention to the lung. You need to keep the lung doses below 30 for single and below 50 for cumulative treatments. So that's how TerraSphere gets modeled. When you talk about SurSphere, what happens is a SurSphere is an activity model. It's not a dose model. So in SurSphere, they're looking at a BSA modified prescription for activity. So this model has actually gone out of favor. And for example, in our practice, we don't use BSA, we use partition model, and I'll explain that model, where we actually look at what is the preferential uptake of the spheres within the tumor itself. But nonetheless, this is the way the activity is prescribed. There used to be something called the empirical model that was there, the old package insert, but these have gone out of favor and no longer being used. Okay, so you might every once in a while come across these things like empirical model, you don't use them, and these dose reductions based on LSF. Okay, so these are getting outdated. So I was talking about, the plans for these models are based on simplistic. So what is really happening out there? So here's an example there. I'm showing you a patient that has 2 lesions, okay, a large anterior HCC, a smaller posterior HCC. And this is the distribution of Y90 after the treatment. So we can see here, when you look at the correspondence, that the tumors have different uptake, right? The small tumor has large uptake here. The large tumor here, its uptake is not so high. And secondly, we also realize that the normal liver uptake is quite heterogeneous. It is not uniform. So if you look at these cartoon models that I have here, the reality is this, where you have very heterogeneous uptake. This is what we have been using so far. So clearly, this doesn't represent reality. Okay. So the partition model is sort of a bridge in between where we say, okay, at least the tumors get a different value. But you got to know that even the assumption that tumors have all a uniform level of uptake relative to the normal liver is a rather tenuous assumption. So if you use these 3 models with this image in this model, this is what you get. Right, you're basically estimating uniform dose everywhere here. Partition model, you get 2 levels of doses, whereas a voxel, you get several levels of doses. Okay, so it's important to know that the standard and partition, you really do not understand or are you able to interrogate the spatial distribution of doses. Okay, you only get these average dose estimates.